Today on Locked On Rockies, in games like that, you kind of just got to tip your cap, especially when you look at the fact that Chase Dollander had a real good start.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 28th day of August in the year 2025. Yes, the final weekend of August is right around the corner. Isn't that crazy? But we are here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, and I am your host, Paul Holden, your Colorado Rockies fan extraordinaire, and the guy that brings you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. Today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, we're going to be breaking down that game 2 with the Rockies and the Astros. And in reality, my main takeaway outside of the good of Chase Dollander having a nice start is that's a tip of the cap type of thing. The Rockies, not a very great team with a lot of young guys. They run into and play a good team. And with a good pitcher on the mound, they get stifled on offense. It happens, but it's unfortunate because that's now the third shutout the Rockies have experienced on this road trip. So even though we can kind of, sprinkle that little thing in there to soften the blow of a loss, there needs that still needs to be addressed a little bit. The fact that the Rockies are, can go scoreless, can go that silent on offense. But again, we're kind of pointing at an offense that is mostly made up of guys, young guys making their first appearances, or it's been a while, but still first few months in the big leagues. With I think the exception, I think both Arcia and Farmer were in the lineup tonight. Also, kind of want to talk about that weak ejection of Hunter Goodman a little bit as well. We're going to do all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, Rockies lose 4-0 there and only pick up the 4 hits there. It dominated mostly on the when it comes to the offensive side. And one thing, though, I will say about this, it got bad. The Rockies eventually racking up 9 strikeouts. But through the 7 innings that Valdez pitched, it wasn't like the Rockies were sitting there and it was just blown away by strikeouts. Still 5 strikeouts over the 7 innings. It certainly was still a factor, and Valdez was very much on his game. But at least there's like that kind of small thing to go with. But again, we're talking about a pitcher that's 12-7, a pitcher that just improved to, I believe, 6-2 at home in starts. It's a good pitcher. What's kind of crazy looking at Valdez's most recent things, this is the first start that the Astros have won with Valdez pitching now in the first 5 games here. And especially when you kind of look at the recent games, you're kind of hoping maybe a tough stretch would continue for him, but that wasn't the case, as he had allowed at least an earned run, and in some instances more than 4 or 5 earned runs in his last in 3 out of his last 5 starts. So the Rockies, unfortunately, were the ones back on the return, the regression there, I guess, or the return to the mean here, especially when you're talking about a guy who this year has a 3.18 ERA, which is 22nd in baseball. He's got the 13th back. He's tied for the 13th best record in baseball at 12-7. He's got a whip of 1.19 that makes him 25th in baseball and 22nd in strikeouts at 158. This is a good pitcher on a good team. And the Rockies lost to a good Houston team. I saw DMAC there of Altitude Sports talk about this as well, where you're just like, that's why winning that first game yesterday was so important, was because it just shows you, it's like, okay, wow, this is a good lineup. And on the backdrop of that, the entire time that Valdez is dominating the Rockies lineup, Chase Dollander is also dealing, and the 1 earned run and the 4 walks certainly are something that you might grimace at. But he threw 98 pitches, 61 of them for strikes, including 7 strikeouts against a good Houston Astros offense here. As we saw, I mean, those were late long balls there. It was not Dollander who gave up a lot of damage. In fact, there was no damage given up from Dollander after the first inning, where the game remained 1-0 until the seventh, where he was replaced by Nick Anderson, who did give up a home run there. The only hit that he gave up was the home run, but it was another run scored there, and then Chavi gave up a home run and another earned run as well. So the bullpen options here were the ones that really struggled the most. One earned run off of 3 hits for Chase over 6 innings is really great, and the 7 strikeouts. I mean, it is just it cannot be understated how important it is for the Rockies to really, really focus on Chase Dollander and watch what is happening between home and the road. How can you mimic it? How can you recreate this? How can you make it so that Dollander is able to execute the way he is on the road? I mean, Chase, this was a phenomenal start. Again, this is the type of stuff that gets you excited when you're hoping for the future here for the Rockies, is Chase Dollander going out here on the road, especially and getting the job done here. He's got 35 strikeouts on the road right now across his 41 innings pitched there. He's allowed 33 hits in that time, but 18 earned runs. Only 6 home runs there. So out of the so he's allowed more home runs at home, basically across the board. You know, he has really, really struggled at Coors Field, but on the road, he has been very solid for the Rockies here overall. I mean, and these are the type of things that you can get encouraged by when it's like, that's why the Rockies went and got him. I mean, again, we should be talking, you know, we're talking about a Houston Astros offense here. When you're looking at them, it's not necessarily in some areas the most flashy, but this is an offense that ranks in the top half of some categories here. 5th best team batting average, 14th best on base percentage for teams in Major League Baseball, and the 16th best slugging percentage. So kind of run of the pack, but still a good offense with a lot of names, and a Houston team that is, that's got over 70 wins so far. It's been first place in the division for a long time, and is a team that's is well above 500 at home, 39-28 against when they are in their home ballpark there. So, all in all, yes, it's a bummer. It's one more loss closer to 100 losses. It's the march continues, and it's another game dropped by the Rockies. But when you're looking at this, I'm focused on Chase Dollander here. I'm focused on the fact that this is a start that you sit there and you say, like, that's the type of stuff that if the Rockies can figure things out and build when Chase is more confident, more comfortable, more experienced as a major league pitcher here, especially for the Rockies, hopefully if he has a lineup around him, if he gives you those type of starts, and he's consistent about doing those starts. Ideally, it's got to happen at home and away. That's awesome. I love seeing Rockies pitchers strike out batters. I one of the things that has been so frustrating about Rockies starters and about Rockies pitching is the complete full buy-in of that pitch to contact. So when Chase is able to go out there against a good Astros team and get 7 strikeouts, that's the type of stuff that gets me excited. That's the type of stuff that I get encouraged by. Yes, 4 walks as well, but hopefully, there's growing pains. There's still some things, it ain't all going to iron out in just one start or anything like that. But I like to see the fact that Chase Dollander continues to be someone that can strike out 5 guys a game. We're now sitting in 4 out of his last 5 starts. Chase Dollander has struck out at least 5 batters. Now, he's had a crooked number of walks in all of those as well. We've had issues with walks and giving up some runs here. But when I'm focused, I just think that the strikeout is going to be so key for him and the Rockies. As we know, it's him being him getting the job done and executing with those strikeout pitches and just blowing guys away. It's kind of what he is part of what his strengths are. So I'm really encouraged by that. Yes, it wasn't perfect, but when you're talking about looking at his most recent appearances here, it's the longest he's gone in a very long time here, I believe. Let's see, it's the longest 6 innings pitched here is the longest he's gone in a baseball in a start since June here. We're also talking about the most strikeouts here in a start since May, I believe, with the with the strikeouts there from Chase. So this is a guy that when you're looking for encouragement, when you're looking for an encouraging sign, when you're looking for something to kind of take away from that game, where again the better team won. The division-leading Houston Astros that have been a perennial threat for the crown and a perennial threat for the AL crown took down the Rockies. But their young guy went toe-to-toe with Valdez and was keeping the Rockies in that ball game. And that's exactly what you're hoping for, and that's exactly what you're looking for if you're the Colorado Rockies there and Rockies fans. All right, we got to take a break here, but I want to talk a little bit about that weak ejection of Hunter Goodman. And, of course, we'll look ahead to game number 3 in the finale for the Colorado Rockies coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Upside. Locked On Rockies fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, you'll think it's too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using the limited time promo code SEASON, SEASON, for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Folks, welcome back into Locked On Rockies segment number 2 here. Before we move on, we got an important request here from the Locked On Rockies podcast. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you for helping us out. And thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire up your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind for the Colorado Rockies. All right. So the one thing about this game that did kind of bug me, and again, the Rockies end up striking out 9 times. The Rockies were, stifled on offense. It's the 3rd shutout on this road trip. It's a little... it's kind of the tough part of baseball here, where sometimes you just go through a gauntlet of good pitching, and the Rockies have certainly been going through a gauntlet of good pitching. The Pirates, record-wise, and where the Pirates are at, you might not think that, but we saw firsthand just how good those pitchers are and just how well they're able to execute. And Houston's no different. This is another team that's got a great starting staff. It's got a good bullpen. It's a team that's built for a championship. It's a team that's built to make a run in the playoffs. So sometimes you just run into games like this. This is kind of one of those things where you just tip the cap and you say the better team won. But the beauty is you got another chance. You got a chance at the upset. You can see what happens in game 3, and we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. But I'm not going to lie. I do have beef with this, and I try not to go too hard on officiating and everything like that, because it clearly that wasn't the big difference maker. Obviously, it'd be nice to have had Hunter Goodman in situations later in the ballgame, certainly, and the Rockies' best offensive player on the field. Absolutely, it impacts and makes and it matters. But my thing is this, and it's a very difficult job, and it's something that I never even did it for a second. It's something that takes a lot of nerve, a lot of patience, and I get all that. But you got to have thicker skin than that. They showed the replay. It was minimal barking. It's the catcher. It's a guy that you're working with here. That's way too quick of a throw of an ejection for a catcher that you're working with there, and for a minimal engagement on being frustrated with the pitch. and the fact that he's walking back to the dugout, and it wasn't a prolonged bat smash. It was a quick bat smash and going back to the dugout. That's just you getting involved. It's just a situation where you're sitting there and saying, like, yes, there might have been a word said, but it's like, if you're walking away from the situation, if it's clear that he's heading back to the dugout, which it was, even with that, you're just getting on the pedestal there. You just really have an issue there with just, there's something irked you the wrong way, and it's just classic stuff with officiating in that instance, where it's just like, that's just unacceptable to me. Like, if you're going to eject somebody, if there's going to be an action, if you're going to get tossed like that, it's got to be something that is worthwhile. As James Hoy there, and throwing him out there, I just didn't see enough. I didn't even see come close to seeing enough there, and like I said, it's whatever. It was a situation, the sixth inning, the Rockies certainly weren't out of the ball game at that point. It was a close enough game where losing your best offensive player is a big problem. But at the same time, the Rockies are in a situation where they're dealing on the other side. But that's just a situation where the umpire just, fluffing out the feathers a little bit, puffing out the chest, because I don't know, if you can't take a minimal thing, especially from a catcher, that's a weak ejection to me. Let me know what you think. Maybe am I thinking too little of it? I mean, I didn't see enough. I didn't see enough to warrant a full toss out of the game, especially with minimal warning here on that, and a guy that you've been working with as well. Let's see here. Another thing I wanted to point out that I just saw here on ESPN's recap, I believe that's the AP's recap, actually. Valdez is 4-0 with a 1.40 ERA in 4 starts against Colorado. Whew. Just domination. I mean, it's again, good teams will handle business against you here, and it's a bummer, because here's also from the piece here: Colorado wasted a sharp performance by rookie right-hander Chase Dollander, who matched a career high with 7 strikeouts and 6 innings of 1-run ball. It is a wasted start. It is a bummer there, but it is also a reminder of 2 teams drastically different spaces here. I mean, we're talking about a team that has nearly double the amount of wins that the Colorado Rockies do, 35 less losses for Houston than the Rockies there. So it was a tough one, especially, a little frustrating there, like we were talking about with Goody. But I don't know. I mean, it was good to see that the Rockies were able to get some hits there. Tyler Freeman continues to be a threat at the leadoff position, grabbing a couple hits. Brenton Doyle adding a hit as well, as he sees a return, getting back pushed further up in the lineup. Probably because you're going with Farmer and Arcia in the game there as well. Jordan Beck continuing to strike out a little bit too much, as we, that's definitely one of the warning signs and the concerns there. Does draw a walk later in the ball game, which is good, but would like to see Beck start. If he's going to continue to be put in this middle of the lineup spot here, we're going to have to start seeing a cutback on these strikeouts. We got to start seeing an adjustment for him, because a lot of striking out lately for Beck. And again, that is also attributed to the talent that the Rockies have been facing, but in the last 7 days, he's got 9 strikeouts there in his last 23 at-bats. Not a good strikeout percentage there, and we're only talking about 6 hits in that time as well, and not a lot of extra base hits and not a lot of walks in that time as well. He's struck out at least he's struck out now 3 times in back-to-back ball games against Houston. He's now got at least 1 strikeout in his last 5 games, and 3 out of those 5 games he's got multiple strikeouts there. So just can't be striking out where the Rockies are putting him in the lineup. That's just a way too important spot, way too important position. But as we've been talking about, it is also the growing pains. We can't just sit here and expect it to be perfect every time. This is a situation in which the Rockies are not, that their inexperience was showing. And that happens when you're a young team trying to figure it out. All right, let's put a bow on this one here, and then let's take a look at what's going to happen in game number 3 for the Colorado Rockies and what's ahead for the Rockos coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. Takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. I know, I've used it multiple times. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Not only that, you're going to get that upfront pricing. You're going to get the Gametime guarantee that makes sure you know that you're getting the best deal possible, but you're also going to get the panoramic seat view, so you're getting a great price, full confidence that you got authentic tickets, and you're going to know exactly where you're sitting. That's called planning ahead. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way you'll buy tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Gametime today. Locked On Rockies here on our segment number 3 of this Thursday edition of Locked On Rockies. Hoping the Rockies can pull off the upset here. It's, there's been some small things. Of course, we talked about the Rockies pulling off the surprise win. Only 10 hits so far for the Rockies offense on this road in this series because they continue to struggle as an offensive unit on the road. But you got a chance here. And again, just like we said with Chase here, it's going to go back to the fact that it's Kyle Freeland because guess what? The Astros are going to have a pretty solid arm here. Now, the difference here with Jason Alexander compared to the Valdez and Brown that we saw in the first 2 games in the series here, Alexander's given up some more runs. Not as much experience as well this year, only 49 innings pitched, so not nearly as many innings pitched as the others here. 38 strikeouts in that time. 19 walks and 7 home runs allowed in 49 innings pitched. So certainly a situation here where you're talking about a guy that is going to be prone for hopefully maybe a little breakout for the Rockies offense, for hopefully a little awakening here on a quick turnaround. It's going to be tough for them to do. It's a quick bounce back. It's a quick day game before heading back home, but it's all going to go, and it's also going to all lead back to Kyle Freeland here. 3-13 record, 5.31 ERA, a whip of 1.52 and 125 innings pitched, allowed 156 hits in this time. I mean, this is, again, we're talking about a situation where you got to make sure that you're keeping the Rockies in the ball game. Kyle has to be able to keep the runs off the board here. 34 walks in that time, 18 home runs allowed to, and 91 strikeouts. Kyle has allowed, it's been, again, kind of pretty classic Kyle Freeland when we're talking about wonderful start, little bit of a bumpy start the next time. It's kind of gone back and forth, especially when we're talking about the fact that he was dealing with that illness there for a bit. But earlier in August, we had the 7 innings of dominant shutout baseball against the Cardinals. And then the last time out against the Pirates, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs allowed, 3 walks. Does strike out 6 in that time. We have been seeing Kyle Freeland striking out some batters here of late. But if the Rockies are going to have any sort of a chance here, Kyle's got to make sure that they continue the trend that we've seen throughout this series, which is the Rocky starters having success against the Astros hitters. Again, we're talking about the Rockies do drop this game. But when you're looking at the starting pitching here, the Rockies there have gotten 2 great starts from Gordon and from Dollander there. As Gordon goes 6 innings, he does allow the 6 hits, but only an earned run. Both of the young guys here going up against the Astros and only allowing the 1 earned run. Not some blemishes, some hiccups, some issues there certainly when it comes to part of the performance. But if the Rockies are going to have a chance, if the Rockies, it all starts with Kyle Freeland. The Rockies have allowed a run in the first inning of both of these games. We know how difficult the first inning has been for the Rockies all season long. So they got a clean first inning, a strong start from Kyle Freeland. That will set the table here for the Rockies to see if they can take advantage of a guy that is not nearly on the caliber that they've seen. One of the statistically at least one of the weaker pitchers that they have seen of late here. However, the Astros have won the last 5 starts for Alexander. In that time, Alexander has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in his start, and he's averaged he's had in his last 5, he's had 6 strikeouts, 3 out of his last 5, and at least 3 strikeouts in the other 2 there as well. So just by some of those numbers, that doesn't mean that you can sit there and take it away. This is a guy that's gotten in a nice groove here, and the Astros have been successful with him on the bump. So you can't take it. You can't just look at one of those things and just take a look at a higher ERA than we've seen than the other guys here. This is still a guy that's 4-1 here. He's still a guy that's been getting some strikeouts here, especially of late, in a pretty darn good spot as setting up his team for success. As every win matters here for the Astros going forward throughout this playoff push. And they talked a little bit about this on the broadcast here. The Rockies just going to be going through a spell here of just a ton of National League West games, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But coming up as well after this game, it is going to be the Chicago Cubs coming to town, and German Marquez is scheduled to return to the starting rotation on Friday. If you did miss that news, that was part of the stuff that they were talking about in the broadcast. I believe it was in the first game of the series there. Talking about how German Marquez returning starting on Friday and Antonio Senzatella moving to the bullpen. We'll see if that's going to be a way to get some confidence, get some success going with Senzatella as the Rockies are continuing looking for their best options for their rotation going forward. And not really sure. I've said it. Enjoy watching German pitch in purple while you can, because I'm not confident that it's going to happen again after this season. But pretty crazy that the end of the season is on the way. The Rockies will, after this series with Chicago, they will play 4 straight series against the National League West. From September 1st until September 14th, it's all the NL West. San Francisco, 2 series against San Diego and Los Angeles. Be interesting, kind of some fun series here, I think, to end the season, the final homestand. I think Miami and the Angels, that's a pretty fun couple of games there before heading to Seattle and San Francisco. I know we look at the schedule a lot, but so we got to look ahead for, right? That's what we got to see what's going on there. And hey, they're not out of it yet in terms of winning this series. They still got a chance. They just got to be. This is a moment here where it's like, okay, this is the young guys need to adapt, and they need to be, they need to perform here in this situation. They need to be able to get the job done against a good team, and they need to be able to turn to their veteran starting pitcher and say, we need you to put us in a position to succeed. And hopefully Kyle can, rise to the occasion and have one of those strong starts that we have seen, and one of those moments where Kyle's able to set the tone, use that energy, use that passion, and set the Rockies up for a Game 3 win. Either way, we'll be breaking it all down right here on Locked On Rockies. So thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind. And hey, it's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. And for your second listen of the day, make sure you go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And of course, we got you covered with Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Let me know what's on your mind, Rockies fans, what questions you have, and more in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. And until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.